and welcome to this EBC seminar on SLP AXS prices, technical analysis on everything Axie marketplace ecosystem coin related. I am Axie Oasis, and I am going to be joined by ShillBill to go through a seminar on all things kind of technically related. ShillBill's been on for the EBC before, and I know for a fact he's going to be breaking down everything on recent price movements, and we're going to get into a discussion about what we think about as both breeders and managers, how we're going to be thinking about this long term. So yeah, I'll pass it over to you and maybe just give a little intro, and then we can dive into the charts.
Yeah, sweet. Thanks for the intro, man. Yeah, so I did one a little while back, I think when SLP was sitting around the 16-cent mark. Had a bit of a look at the market, but with everything that's sort of gone on in the last couple of days, just with the market in general and BTC, thought it'd be a good time to jump in and sort of have a look what we're looking at for most of the coins that are connected to the Axie ecosystem and things like that. Probably going to start off with BTC to start with. Pretty much is driving the price of everything at the moment. So, it's when BTC dumps, we see, most of the market here, taking quite a hit in the last couple of days. So if we're looking at the weekly chart on BTC, I never like coming into these things with bad news, but it's looking a little grim at the moment, to say the best. The thing that's most worrying me here about BTC, which will essentially, dictate what everything else is worth in USD prices, is this lower high that we've just created here after that massive run up. At the moment, we've still got this support, and honestly, I'm just watching this 50 moving average here. It's one of the moving averages that I do use quite a lot. We'll have a look at it more in the SLP ETH chart later. But at the moment on the weekly, we're still holding that. But this lower high is the is my first red flag to a possible change of market structure. So for me, keeping it super simple, when we've got bullish market structure, we've got high, low, high, low. Yep. And we get that nice market structure. At the moment here, what we're seeing is a lower high here. And now I'm waiting for that lower low here. If we do break this level here, which essentially, if I grab a couple of these things.
Support level there.
Yeah, we got that support level, which we've come back and touched, and we had that 50 moving average here as well. You can see all those wicks to the downside. So we did bounce off there. I know we did have some sort of news at this point, but it is this lower high that's worrying me. And you can see if we go back, we would have to go back to the daily, but you can see it on nearly every chart. Let's go back to the daily. For anyone who was around in, where are we? This last run that we had here. We're looking at a very similar looking chart where we found that support level. We got those wicks over to the left-hand side, and then we create that lower high. Once that support level does break, comes back. Once support breaks, it then becomes resistance, and we came back and retested it here, and that was sort of the end of the story. If you look at the classic psychology chart, this is the thing that we're looking at here. So not looking great for BTC. However, we haven't broken that support level yet, so I'm not too worried. If we can get that money printer going, I'm sure we might get some more rallies.
And why watching BTC, relative to focus on the Axie ecosystems with SLP and AXS being based on Ethereum? Why is this relevant to you? When you think about just overall crypto market structure and overall volume, bullish bearishness, just on the space in general, the crypto space in general.
Yeah, so they're all kind of correlated, right? So like ETH has a BTC pairing. So if BTC is going down and this is going down, you get that multiplier. So then your ETH USD pair goes down by 8%, where Bitcoin's only gone down by 5%. So when there's really violent moves from BTC, either up or down, you normally see the Bitcoin dominance chart. really spike and everything flows back into BTC, whether it's going up or down, or it flows into USDT. So any violent movements from BTC also pulls the BTC pairings of ETH and also AXS. I've got it here somewhere, I'm pretty sure. But it's the same kind of thing with AXS BTC chart.
Gotcha.
So it's all correlated, and you get that multiplier where, ETH's gone down 8%, Bitcoin's only gone down 5%. So you're getting that on top of Bitty crashing, you're also getting that. So if you're looking in US dollars, which a lot of people probably are at the marketplace, especially for breeding, for me, it is pretty important. All right, let's jump in. Yeah, so if we're looking, this is the chart that I'm mostly watching, is the SLP ETH chart. This was the only chart we really had back when it was on, what do we have it on? Was it one of those swap sites? It was Uniswap, I think, was about the only place back past here, sort of the end of last year, where that was where the majority of the trading was going on for SLP. And it was before AXS was really relevant, right? It was only like 40 cents. It wasn't really used for anything. It was going to be used for something in the future. But we sort of saw the price of AXS really, really start to move when it became part of the ecosystem as part of breeding. So this is the chart that I'm looking at the most, because essentially the same way as when we were talking about that, you need to look at the ETH BTC chart. Yep. Of what it's relevant to in BTC when it makes the move. It's the same thing, because SLP has the SLP ETH pairing where it doesn't have the BTC pairing. So your USD price in SLP has the same kind of thing as the ETH price. So you can see against the ETH, it's only gone down by 1.9%, but against the USD, it's gone down by 9 because it gets that multiplier. So for me, this is the only chart that really makes a difference, because it can make significant moves. So like we could move from here up to here and it does 90%. And it's fallen so far. Gotcha. That a big move on this pairing also would affect the USD price as well. And you can see it has the similar kind of thing. Another, as we go back to that same sort of market structure where we've got that lower high here, had the same thing as we saw on everything else. And once we broke that support level here, we did come back, try and retest, and then it goes, now we're sitting at the now we're sitting in depression. Yeah. Find a new support level much lower. Yeah, absolutely. And if I'm looking at this pairing here, like if we're looking at the ETH pair, I don't have the charts like a good chart, because this only goes back to when Binance was listing it. But if we're looking back to historical support levels, this level here at 1,289 ETHs, I don't know what they're sats in. I call them sats in BTC pairs. They're ETHs, I guess. Yeah, I know what you mean. So from here, like there's nothing really holding us between these two points, right? There's no structure. There's just absolutely no structure. And I did post this up in the members in the EBC Discord. Once we close this candle. Here, I was like, if this candle closes below the support, like there's not really anything stopping us from going lower. Yeah, from going lower. There's just no structure, and like I base most of my stuff on previous structure. That's pretty much how I trade. And absolutely, as we were talking about the 50 moving average with BTC, it's been really important on the ETH pairing here. So you can see London hard fork was like back here, which, as I said before, when BTC goes on a move and BTC is strong, all the, like say the ETH pair. So when BTC is having a big run, you can see the ETH pair will slowly drop against BTC. So ETH becomes weaker because BTC is going stronger. Got it. We had the similar kind of thing here where we had the London hard fork, which was about here. And ever since then, because ETH's just become so much stronger, they're burning all the ETH. I honestly don't know enough about it to talk anymore, but from what I can see from the date here, I don't understand a lot of this stuff, but I'm all right at drawing lines. So but since then, ETH's just been ETH, you can see here right off that, yeah, and you can see from the same time here, ETH has just got so much stronger against BTC. So as ETH gets stronger, the SLP versus ETH is going to get weaker. So, and we can see here, there's so many points every time I draw on one of these little ellipsy things. We've touched that 50 moving average and just can't get past it. And you can see that the 200 moving average was, once we got that death cross, it really pulled, really far away from each other, and they're starting to come back. And that's the thing, like this always happens. Like you can see here, we came all the way back, and at some point they will cross back over.
Gotcha.
Same thing here. They are going to cross back over. So we're at the tail end where they're starting to come back together.
When they're converging.
Honestly, there's not that much more to fall.
Got it.
There's not much more it can go before it.
So you're looking for that convergence and between the moving averages. And my question is, with this trend, I mean, people are not stopping playing. I mean, my scholars are still playing. I'm still playing. Season 18 just finished up. What do you think people are doing with SLP now, or what would you be doing? Just seeing how, just looking at these, market dynamics. You've studied the charts. You've been in the market. You've been around, trading these before. And as you think about all that kind of like depth of knowledge, what would you be doing with SLP right now? Like I just cashed out a couple of scholar accounts where, I now have, I'm sitting on, 10,000, 20,000 SLP that, I've gathered from my own playing and my scholars. What should we be doing with that? Should we be piping it into breeding? Should we be converting it to ETH? Like, what's your professional opinion, having taken a look at these markets?
Yeah, so always never financial advice, but I can let you know what I'm doing.
Yeah, there you go. Absolutely. Good disclosure. Good disclosure.
Always got to make sure I keep myself covered there. But for me, at the moment, while SLP is in a downtrend, I don't want to be selling it because I think I'm going to get a better price at some point, especially as we come to this point now. So for me at the moment, I'm just re-rolling all my stuff back into breeds.
Got it.
Because I think when we do get that new market structure and we eventually sort of, break. So for me, I would be happy, but I've got my own sort of personal targets, but I'm happy to sell any SLP and start taking profits back above 10 cents. I've looked at my average sort of buy-in. I was lucky enough to be in sort of July last year for Axie. So I was in early enough that I've already, recouped all my stuff.
Gotcha.
But for me, for a regular claim from scholars, like I don't want to be selling below 10 cents. I may as well just be using this to then breed more or sit on it. And it's going to get to a point like, so for markets, like they will go in one direction until there's no one left to sell. So at some point, no one's going to be willing to sell SLP at this price.
Right.
And I don't know if that price is, 5 cents or like my next target, honestly, is 3.5 cents. If we look back this is the best chart I can get. But back when we had sort of the Uniswap pairs and things like that, historically, 3.5 cents was a level of support. And when they brought Ronin in across and they still had the old SLP and the new SLP, there was a huge arbitrage, but it was like the opposite way where you couldn't make money. It was you could get the old SLP for I can't remember what it was, but it was on Uniswap. The new SLP when it came out into Uni was 3.5 cents, but the old SLP was like 12, 13 cents on Binance. So it was the opposite of an arbitrage.
Oh, wow.
So
yeah.
But at the same point, you could buy it, the new SLP, because you couldn't do anything with it, but you'd have to then swap it over to Ronin. Yeah. So there was a period there where I sent to a bunch of friends that are sort of, and I was just like, look, this is a pretty good spot to be buying SLP at 3.5 cents. And then obviously it did its rally to what, 40 or whatever it did.
Yeah.
But it was a spot where it was, it was tough to try and navigate because you didn't really know what the actual, the real market price was for SLP because you could only use half of it and
correct
having to send the other half. And I'm seeing, like, if we're looking like probably away from the charts a little bit, but the when they brought out Ronin straight to Binance, that was here, I believe, and we had that little bit of a bump. But essentially, like if you look at it as a sort of from a fundamental standpoint, it just reduced all the fees for scholars to be able to take their
also true.
To take their SLP and actually cash it out to US dollars, because you would have to pay like a $30 gas fee.
And
if you've only got like $200 worth of SLP, that's a huge chunk of that. Now they can send it there for free and it can just be dumped on the market. So I was expecting, while it was kind of good news, it was just so much selling pressure. And you can see in these, like, this is getting out of control. Like the burn versus
burn
versus mint.
Something
Something needs to be done with the burn rate. Like I know you see the Twitter, it's just like, you see all these announcements, we're gonna need all this SLP, things like that. But it's like, it still needs to be a lot more balanced, like where we were here.
Yeah.
Like this is fine, but this is just, there's just so many scholarships now and so many people coming in.
Yeah.
And the other point with the burn rate. So if we look, sorry, I'll jump back to the burn rate here. On Binance at the moment, you can send your SLP there, but you can't withdraw AXS back to your Ronin to breed. It's still locked. It's still locked. So you're still having to pay the gas fee to get your AXS. So it's making it a lot harder at the moment to be able to burn more from breeding. Compared to, sorry, Matt, give me 1 sec. Sorry, man, I just need to jump off 1 sec.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yeah, looking at those two, the convergence and divergence of the burn rate. I know that, that's been, something that we obviously have, everyone in the community has been, looking at, and, different ideas on how to increase that have, been tossed around, whether it's retiring Axies, disassembling them. I've heard a lot of, different things, but finding a way for that, market mechanic to get more in line, I think is going to be something that devs are probably, working on and thinking about. There's got to be a lot of thoughts and ideas around there, and maybe not necessarily down that road, but maybe as we think about like upcoming events and thinking about, the developers obviously talking about season 19 changes to, the card listings, or whether it's the decks coming out. What are there any, other, market events that you think might influence these prices, and things you might be looking at, like from a, hey, X announcement gets made, like you just mentioned, and we're showing on the charts, like, hey, like the Ronin bridge like came online, like this is what happened with price activity, and while it's a good thing for this reason, it's a bad reason for that reason. Anything around the decks that you're going to be watching, and how it might follow through and price activity?
Yeah, sorry, man. My whole house just started shaking for a sec. I thought I had an earthquake going on for a minute.
Oh,
that's why I had to just bounce out for a bit. I was like, holy shit. All my monitors started doing it. I looked over at my blinds and they were just shaking a little bit. So I got no idea what's going on here. Hopefully nothing bad. Yeah, I did catch the second half of that. So I think like with the RoninDex, right? It's going to increase the burned amount, because people aren't going to be having to pay like so many gas fees. And like for me at the moment, it's holding me back from buying more AXS, because I'm like, well, I'm going to buy like 50 AXS at a time to make it worth it to be able to then breed more. So it's stopping me from breeding as much as I'd like to. Like if I could just swap the SLP back to AXS, I would then, it's going to affect the price of SLP as well, but it's going to be against the AXS pair. Which I don't really know until I start seeing how that kind of works, whether AXS goes down a little bit more in line, or but it would make a lot more people be breeding, which would up this burn number. So that would start, if you can't bring down the minting, which they tried to do with the reduced 75 or whatever it was for the daily, that didn't quite work, because there's still more Axies getting made. So it didn't quite do anything. But if they can increase the amount of people breeding more Axies, which I would think would happen with the DEX, because you can just swap your SLP over to AXS and you can make more breeds.
Oh, absolutely. You're either you're flush with one or the other, but the exchange rate and getting back and forth between them, or between ETH and on off chain, if you make that a much more simpler process, absolutely, should definitely be seeing hopefully that number going up for sure.
Yeah, so we got to try and get this to be a bit more even, whether it's bringing the burn up or bringing the mint down. They've already tried to bring the mint down, but the mint's just going to keep going up the more people that breed. So the more people you breed as well, the mint's also going to go up.
True.
So, but yeah, I think that will help. I think that will help. My personal opinion, what I think would be good for it is to just take away the AXS from the breed.
Well, and the devs have the power, right? We've seen them adjust it before. It went from 4 AXS down to 2. I don't think they changed the baseline level stats of amount of SLP to breed, since I've been, actively doing it and following it, but
Yeah.
they are seeing the same, they're seeing the same stats that, we're seeing. Like they know, they know what's happening. And I'm sure that they're incentivized to make sure that it finds like a comfortable price level where people don't want to be talking about SLP going down or falling, et cetera. They would probably prefer, again, this is my opinion, that it's relatively stable. Wherever it stabilizes, that's I don't know where that number kind of shakes out at, but the idea of having something more stable, it would probably be in their benefit to, get back to that equilibrium. And when you look at that burn versus mint chart, like they have to know that there's something out of whack relative to history and what has been happening in the ecosystem so far.
Yeah, for sure. Like they don't want like the fees that come out of here was like 5% or something like that.
Yeah,
like
4.5,
this number
yeah.
here, yeah, it's like 4.5, whatever it is. So this has dropped significantly. That was up to like 30 million a day.
Oh
like
yeah.
24-hour volume for a while. And like the price of AXS and SLP is also not beneficial for Axie themselves because they're making less from this. I don't know what happens with the 5%. I think some of it goes to treasury or something like that.
Yeah.
But essentially it's still more ammo that they would have for in the future. But like one thing that like, I don't know, I'm up in the air about whether the reason why AXS and SLP have their SLP price is because this is still based in ETH, or whether they look at something like where Axies could be priced in AXS and the breeds cost SLP, which completely takes away ETH from the whole ecosystem. But then I'm wondering, does it actually have a price versus ETH? And is it only the SLP and AXS only have the price because you can get ETH for it
because you can
when you make the Axie? So it's like I don't know what happens if they move to that where the token sort of gets its own footing away from ETH, or if that makes worse problems, and then no one just wants to play because the price doesn't actually have a direct price against ETH for what the AXS and SLP are worth.
Right. Right. Yeah. So maybe like just kind of like wrapping up just in thinking about overall actions, activities. We have a lot of people like following the channel that are breeders, that are scholar managers, and just thinking about the activities that you're doing. So you're basically saying, I think I'm going to hold SLP for the moment, or put it back into breeds, and just there's no reason to be swapping out of it, at these levels. Kind of agree that there's some sort of relative on the not on the technical side, but on the technical side from the balance standpoint from the devs, there's some level of support that they're going to provide in my opinion, that you have some sort of incentive for them to want to stabilize this. It's at some like support level, and we'll be able to get into it at be able to swap out of it at higher prices.
Yeah, I'm sure the devs know what they're doing. Like it does suck for everyone at the moment, and especially for people who sort of bought in around the July when that really big sort of the hype came around. Like I had a look at here. Like this is a little brief rundown from this morning of sort of what I'm doing at the moment. So for a breed per Axie at the moment, it's costing you about $150 US. But the thing is that some of these things are still holding their price. So everyone that hasn't joined the Elite Breeders Club, you can get all these prices from the Discord. So a quick plug for anything. But I pulled all this data off there. But yeah, like even just for the these are the lowest, like the kois at the moment are still selling, like the floor price for koi virgins are still 0.1. Right. So, and if you're selling those for 0.1, a team's costing you 452. They should be able to hold, 13 to 1600 MMR with the double aqua, just regular, just normal sort of teams. And, at that 150 a day seems to be about the average that my scholars with those teams have.
Yep.
At the moment, the floor price for a koi is somewhere between, 215 to 275, depending on what you get, 0.8 to 0.1. So even like just breeding still, it's only costing you 150 and you're being able to sell this, you're making 65 to 125 like per breed. And you can do this every 5 days, as many times as you have the money for.
Yeah.
And they're still selling. So like breeding at the moment for me is profitable. And if you do the 4 breed and you sell 2, you get 10 access back by selling those 2, and then just re-rolling the SLP that I've got from my scholars, and then just using the breeds, because the difference that I'm getting from the breeds can then pay for my access to re-roll and just expand. At the moment, for me, it's just all about expansion as much as I can. I'm setting up another one with some mates with a different sort of structure. People that want to get into crypto but don't really want to do anything. So I'm like, yeah, this is a good intro for you. I can manage it all. And I did watch the other video that you did with Jaxie about the expansion, and I've already got some of my good scholars as well. If people haven't watched that video, definitely worth having a look, especially if you're coming out to start doing a scholarship. I'm going to take on board a lot of the sort of those middle managers and some scholars that are really good. Definitely going to take on that for the second one, because at the moment I'm managing all my teams myself, and I'm sending a lot of codes out.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I'm nowhere near Jaxie's level of thinking, and still
neither am I.
Yeah, but even I'm starting to realize, and I realized in my initial call with him, having those people in place inside of your community, your system, whatever you want to call it, to be able to kind of offload some of that work and help and make sure everything is running smoothly, and that everyone's being able to maximize what you're showing over here on the screen. I mean, I think it's the data has been great. I'm glad that you pulled some of this up. For anyone who is not part of the EBC and is seeing this, they offer some phenomenal free information on their website. It's elitebreeders.club, and you can get access to a ton of information for free on there. Their Discord server, join that, and there's people like me and ShillBill on there who are answering questions. Great active community that is always willing to help figure stuff out, whether it's basic questions, or you're talking about these more complicated and systematic ways of going through the Axie economy. And we're here to take a good eye on all of these things and monitor them with data. And through the NFT pass system, you can get access to a lot of this pricing data, which is unbelievably helpful if you are really trying to elevate the attention that you are taking to Axie Infinity. And I really encourage people to take the time to check that out, see if it's right for you. And it's been phenomenal, like looking through all of that data and how beneficial it has been, across whatever you're doing, just making purchases more intelligently, thinking about how to set up a breeding farm properly, looking for niche builds, and figuring out exactly what you're getting and at what you could sell it for based on historical data. So really actionable data, I would say, is what's been so great about it. So
yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I haven't had enough time to really get deep into it and stuff like that. I was lucky enough sort of from like December last year to have Prophecy's ear, and he because I was breeding terribly. I had no idea what I was doing. I was like, just paying ridiculous gas fees, not breeding the right teams. But even just from him, and then like starting to watch some of these videos and going and all the stuff that I do see in that Discord and things like that just have helped out so much. Probably one of the last things I want to just quickly touch on at the moment. So if you're breeding these kind of teams at the moment, if SLP is 10 cents, you're getting 100% ROI back. So you're getting all your money back just by selling the SLP at 10 cents within 2 months. And everyone's like, 10 cents doesn't sound like much, but getting 100% ROI, pretty well guaranteed, unless your scholars get banned in 2 months, is pretty good. Even at 5 cents, 4 months, like you recover your initial 450 or however much you're putting in 4 months, and then you're going to make an extra $900 profit on that after that for the first year. So the good thing is that the because the Axies are, the price of them are within AXS and ETH, the ROI doesn't really move too much. It just means that you might have to have more Axies to get the dollar amounts, but the actual ROI itself is actually pretty good. But just did a quick little calculation before as well. So like buying in now and starting a team is no different than it was. It just means that you have more teams now than you would have had 3 months ago. So there's more upside for you as it moves forward, because you've already got all those teams in place. Like for me, the whole game was get an X amount of scholarship teams and then have that as a passive income. And then I can just, take profits, do whatever I want with that. So at the moment, it's easier to make more of those teams for when we start, if the price does start getting back to 10, 15, 20 cents, you've got all those teams in place already and you can really reap the benefits. So the upside from this point is a lot better than it was, 2 or 3 weeks ago. And if you're looking at people that bought when the SLP price was like, 30, 40 cents and were breeding, it was costing like $2,500 a team for a little while. That was crazy. I was telling everyone this is way overpriced. This is way overpriced. Like I was selling like aquas for like 0.4 ETH. And it was ridiculous.
I sold some breeders up there. Yeah, that was like right when I was making my first videos.
Crazy.
Now that I like go back and look at it. It is funny, but
And for those people there, it's like it's going to take them 22 months. If we drop to 5 cents and hold there for a while, it's going to take 22 months just for them to get that initial back. Then if you start breeding now, it's 4 months.
Yeah,
which seems pretty good to me for an ROI.
No, absolutely.
it's for not much work. It's definitely a good return.
Yeah, awesome. So
cool,
yeah,
man.
this has been a great session. ShillBill, do you want to just give your links? I know we'll put them in the description.
Yeah, I'll pop this one in. Yeah, I'll pop this one in here. And then I'm going to go check and make sure there's no earthquake in my house because that was the. Sorry, I had to bail out for a second there, man. I've got a few messages on my phone too. Something's definitely gone on.
Yeah.
So this is the company that trained me back in 2017. For the last 2 years, I've just been trading and finishing off a accounting degree. And that's pretty much what I was doing for a full-time job. These guys do the whole course online. It's I think it's $149 US per month, and you can there's no lock-in or anything like that. You can go through the course in about a month and a half. There's probably 100 hours worth, depends how fast you can get through it. But we got like 4 of the best traders in Australia who are the coaches here, got our own Discord, and they do 4 live sessions where each of the trainers take about an hour and a half each week, and they go through all the markets and share all their trades that they're looking at and entries and exits and things like that. So if you're in the space looking, and wanting to manage, sort of risk and things like this, knowing when you should be selling things and stuff like that, just even knowing the basics, jumping in for a month is going to help out a lot. Knowing how to read the charts will save you a bunch of money.
Great.
So I'll leave the link in the bottom, but it's a really good spot, really good community there. It's based out of Australia, but we've got people across the world doing it too. So
awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time, joining me here, talking about AXS, SLP, burn rates. Touched on a lot of good stuff here. We'll get you links and descriptions, everything in the bottom of the video. And like I said before, this was hosted by the Elite Breeders Club. Visit the website, elitebreeders.club. Check out all of the content that's available there. Look for the NFT passes if you are looking to take your Axie Infinity to the next level. There are plenty of tools for those who are not pass holders, but the premier version and having the access to the pricing tool is unbelievably beneficial. Able to look at market data and comps for everything, whether you're just starting out or you're doing a full large scale operation. The data inside of this tool is what you need in order to scale that. So have a look, see what's going on, join the Discord, pop in, talk to people, learn a bunch. But yeah, hopefully everyone enjoyed this session, and we'll see you next time.
Awesome. Thanks again, man.
Thanks. Bye.